Chapter 4. Bepin Chaudhary's Lapse of Memory. Before you read, do you have a good memory? Has your memory ever played tricks on you? Forgetfulness often puts you in a tight spot, but forgetting a part of your life may drive you crazy. In this story, Bipin Babu goes nearly crazy because he cannot recollect his stay at Ranchi. He has never been to Ranchi, he insists, though there are many witnesses to the contrary. What is the suspense all about? 1. Every Monday on back from work, Bipin Chaudhary would drop in at Kali Chiran's in New Market to buy books. Crime stories, ghost stories and thrillers. He had to buy at least 5 at a time to last him through the week. He lived alone, was not a good mixer, had few friends, and didn't like spending time in idle chat. Today at Kali Chiran's, Bipin Babu had the feeling that someone was observing him from close quarters. He turned round and found himself looking at a round-faced, meek-looking man who now broke into a smile. "I don't suppose you recognize me?" "Have we met before?" asked Bipin Babu. The man looked greatly surprised. "We met every day for a whole week. I've arranged for a car to take you to Hudru Falls." "In 1958, in Ranchi. My name is Parimal Ghosh." "Ranchi?" Now Bipin Babu realized that it was not he, but this man who was making a mistake. Bipin Babu had never been to Ranchi. He had been at point of going several times, but never made it. He smiled and said, "Do you know who I am?" "Who I am?" The man raised his eyebrows, bit his tongue, and said, "Do I know you? Who doesn't know you, Bipin Chaudhary?" Bipin Babu now turned towards the bookshelves and said, "Still you are making a mistake. One often does. I've never been to Ranchi." The man now laughed aloud. "What are you saying, Mr. Chaudhary? You had a fall in Hudru and cut your right knee. I brought you iodine. I had fixed up a car for you to go to Netherhut the next day, but you couldn't because of the pain in the knee. Can't you recall anything? Someone else you know was also in Ranchi at that time?" "Mr. Dinesh Mukherjee. You stayed in a bungalow. You said you didn't like hotel food and would prefer to have a meal cooked by a bawarchi. Mr. Mukherjee stayed with his sister. You had a big argument about the moon landing, remember? I'll tell you more. You always carried a bag with your books in it on your sightseeing trips. Am I right or not?" Bipin Babu spoke quietly, his eyes still on the books. "Which month in 58 are you talking about?" The man said October. "No, sir," said Bipin Babu. "I spent puja in 58 with a friend in Kanpur. You are making a mistake. Good day." But the man didn't go, nor did he stop talking. "Very strange. One evening I had a tea with you in the veranda of your bungalow. You spoke about your family. You said you had no children and that you lost your wife 10 years ago. Your only brother had died insane, which is why you didn't want to visit the mental hospital in Ranchi." When Bipin Babu had paid for the books and was leaving the shop, the man was still looking at him in utter disbelief. 2. Bipin Babu's car was safely parked in Burton Street by the Lighthouse Cinema. He told the driver as he got into the car, "Just drive by the Ganga. Will you, Sitaram?" Driving up the Strand Road, Bipin Babu regretted having paid so much attention to the intruder. He had never been to Ranchi, no questions about it. It was inconceivable that he could forget such an incident, which took place only 6 or 7 years ago. He had excellent memory, unless Bipin Babu's head reeled. Was he losing his mind? But how could that be? He was working daily in his office. It was a big firm, and he was doing a responsible job. He wasn't aware of anything ever going seriously wrong. One day, only today, he spoke for half an hour at an important meeting. And yet, And yet the man knew a great deal about him. How? He even seemed to know some intimate details. The bag of books, wife's death, brother's insanity. The only mistake was about having gone to Ranchi. Not a mistake, a deliberate lie. In 58 during the pujas, he was in Kanpur at his friend Haridas Bakchi's place. All Bipin Babu had to do was to write to. No, there was no way of writing to Haridas. Bipin Babu suddenly remembered that Haridas had left with his wife for Japan some weeks ago. He didn't have his address. But where was the need for proof? He himself was fully aware that he hadn't been to Ranchi, and that was that. The river breeze was bracing, and yet a slight discomfort lingered in Bipin Babu's mind. Around Hastings, Bipin Babu decided to roll up his trousers and take a look at his right knee. There was a mark of an old inch-long cut. It was impossible to tell whether the injury had occurred. Had he never had a fall as a boy and cut his knee? He tried to recall such an incident but couldn't. Then Bipin Babu suddenly thought of Dinesh Mukherjee. The man had said that Dinesh was in Ranchi at the same time. The best thing would be to ask him. He lived quite near, in Beninandan Street. What about going right now? But then, if he really had never been to Ranchi, what would Dinesh think if Bipin Babu asked for a confirmation? He would probably conclude Bipin Babu was going nuts. No, it would be ridiculous to ask him. And he knew how ruthless Dinesh's sarcasm could be. Sipping a cold drink in his air-conditioned living room, Bipin Babu felt at ease again. Such a nuisance. Just because they have nothing else to do, they go about getting into other people's hair. After dinner, snuggling in his bed with one of the new thrillers, Bipin Babu forgot all about the man in the new market. Next day in the office, Bipin Babu noticed that with every passing hour, the previous day's encounter was occupying more and more of his mind. If the man knew so much about Bipin Babu, how could he make such a mistake about the Ranchi trip? Just before lunch, Bipin Babu decided to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee. It was better to settle the question over the phone. At least the embarrassment on his face would not show. 235616. Bipin Babu dialed the number. Hello? Is that Dinesh? This is Bipin here. Well, what's the news? I just wanted to find out if you recalled an incident which took place in 58. 58? What incident? Were you in Calcutta right through that year? That's the first thing I've got to know. Wait just a minute. 58. Just let me check in my diary. For a minute there was silence. Bipin Babu could feel that his heartbeat had gone up. He was sweating a little. Hello? Yes, I've got it. I had been out twice. Where? Once in February nearby. To Krishnanagar to a nephew's wedding. And then... But you'd know about this one. The trip to Ranchi, you were there too. That's all. But what's that all sleuthing about? No, I just wanted to... Anyway, thanks. Bipin Babu slammed the receiver down and gripped his head with his hand. He felt his head swimming. A chill seemed to spread all over his body. There were sandwiches in his tiffin box, but he didn't eat them. He lost his appetite. 3. After lunchtime, Bipin Babu realized that he couldn't possibly carry on sitting at his desk working. This had never happened in 25 years he had been with the firm. He had a reputation for being a tireless, conscientious worker. But today his head was in a whirl. Back home at 2:30, Bipin Babu laid down in bed and tried to gather his wits together. He knew that it was possible to lose one's memory through an injury in head, but he didn't know of a single instance someone remembering everything except one particular incident, and fairly a recent and significant one. He had always wanted to go to Ranchi. To have gone there, done things and not remember was something utterly impossible. At 7:30, Bipin Babu's servant came and announced, "Chunni Babu sir says it's very important." Bipin Babu knew what Chunni had come for. Chunni Lal had been at school with him. He had been living through a rough time lately and had been coming to see him about a job. Bipin Babu knew it was not possible to do anything for him and in fact told him so. But Chunni kept turning up like a bad penny. Bipin Babu sent a word that not only was it not possible to meet him to meet not only it was not possible for him to see Chunni now, but not even several weeks. But as soon as the servant stepped out of the room, it struck Bipin Babu that Chunni might remember something about the 50th trip. There was no harm in asking him. Bipin Babu hurried down the stairs and into the living room. Chunni was about to leave, but seeing Bipin Babu appear, he turned round hopefully. "Listen." Bipin Babu didn't beat about the bush. "Listen, Chunni, I want to ask you something. You have a good memory, as you have been seeing me and off and on for a long time. Just throw your mind back and tell me, did I go to Ranchi in 58? Chunni said, 58. It must have been 58, or was it 59? You are sure that I did go to Ranchi? Chunni's of amazement was not unmixed with worry. Do you mean you have doubts about having gone? Did I go? Do you remember clearly? Chunni sat down on the sofa, fixed Bipin Babu with a long, hard stare, and said, Bipin, have you taken to drugs or something? As far as I know, you had a clean record where such things were concerned. I know that old friendship don't mean much to you, but at least you have a good memory. You can't really mean that you've forgotten about the Ranchi trip. Bipin Babu had to turn away from Chunni's incredulous stare. Do you remember what my last job was? Asked Chunni Lal. Of course, you worked in a travel agency. You remember that, and you do not remember that it was I who fixed up your railway booking for Ranchi. I went to the station to see you off. One of the fans in our compartment was not working. I got an electrician to fix it. Have you forgotten everything? Whatever is the matter with you? You don't look too well, you know. Bipin Babu sighed and shook his head. I've been working too hard, he said at last. That must be the reason. Must see about consulting a specialist. Doubtless, it was Bipin's condition which made him Chunni Lal leave without mentioning anything about a job. Paresh Chunda was a young physician with a pair of bright eyes and a sharp nose. He became thoughtful when he heard about Bipin Babu's symptom. Look, Dr. Chunda, said Bipin Babu desperately, you must cure me of this horrible illness. I can't tell you how it's affecting my work. Dr. Chanda shook his head. You know what, Mr. Chaudhary? He said. I've never had to deal with such a case as yours. Frankly, this is quite outside my field of experience. But I have one suggestion. I don't know if it will work, but it's worth a try. It can do no harm. Bipin Babu leaned forward anxiously. As far as I can make out, said Dr. Chanda, and I think you are of the same opinion. You must have been to Ranchi, but due to some unknown reason, the entire episode had just slipped out of your mind. What I suggest is that you go to Ranchi once again. The sight of place may remind you of your trip. This is not impossible. More than that, I cannot do at the moment. I am prescribing a nerve tonic and a tranquilizer. Sleep is essential, or the symptoms will get more pronounced. Bipin Babu felt somewhat better the next morning. After breakfast, he rang up his office, gave some instructions, and then procured a first class ticket for Ranchi for the same evening. 4. Getting off the train at Ranchi next morning, he realized at once that he had never been there before. He came out of the station, took a taxi, drove around the town for a while. He realized that the streets, the buildings, the hotels, the bazaars, the Morabadi hill, with none of these had he the slightest acquaintance. Would a trip to Hudru Falls help? He didn't believe so, but at the same time, he didn't wish to leave with a feeling that he hadn't tried enough. So he arranged for a car and left for Hudru in the afternoon. At 5 o'clock, same afternoon in Hudru, two Gujarati gentlemen from a group of picnickers discovered Bipin Babu lying unconscious beside a boulder. When they came around, the first thing Bipin Babu said was, "I'm finished. There's no hope left." Next morning, Bipin Babu was back in Calcutta. He realized that there was truly no hope for him. Soon he would lose everything: his will to work, his confidence, his ability, his balance of mind. Was he going to end up in the asylum at? Bipin Babu could not think any more. Back home, he rang up Dr. Chanda, asked him to come over. Then, after a shower, he got into bed with a bag clamped on his head. Just then, the servant brought him a letter, which someone had left in the letter box. Greenish envelope, and it was a greenish envelope with his name and red ink on it. Above the name, it said, "Urgent and confidential." In spite of his condition, Bipin Babu had a feeling that he thought to go through the letter. He tore open the envelope and took out the letter. This is what he read. Dear Bipin, I had not known that affluence would bring about such a kind of change in you. Sorry for the delay. Dear Bipin, I had no idea that affluence would bring about the kind of change in you that it has done. Was it so difficult for you to help out an old friend down on his luck? I've no money, so my resources are limited. What I have is imagination, a part of which I used in retribution of your unfeeling behavior. Retribution is punishment. Well, you'll be all right again now. A novel I've written is being considered by a publisher. If he likes it enough, it'll see me through the next few months. Yours, Chunilal. When Dr. Chanda came, Bipin Babu said, "I'm fine. It all came back as soon as I got off the train at Ranchi." "A unique case," said Dr. Chanda. "I shall certainly write about it in a medical journal." "The reason why I sent for you," said Bipin Babu, "is that I have a pain in the hip from a fall I had in Ranchi. If you could prescribe a painkiller." Satyajit Ray. Thank you.